Basar b'chalav. Where is this? Where is this word? Here it is. All right. This is, by the way, this is this class is dedicated to, what's your mother's name? I had it written down on a paper and what here is. No. Yerachmiel, what is her name?
Chana Bat David.
Chana Bat David. Okay, good. Chana Bat David. Okay. All right. We are now on the laws of milk and meat. The laws of milk and meat begin in chapter 87. By the way, yesterday I made also a mistake. I said 86. Okay, what can we do? It's 87. Not a major mistake, but it is 87. Pei Zion, that's where it begins. And we learned the laws of that you shouldn't boil and we shouldn't eat it and you shouldn't get pleasure from it. And you shouldn't eat even one after the other, we learned. And we learned a little bit the laws of the udder. And then we learned about if they touch each other, it's not good. And now we're learning about this law of chaticha naset nevela. And that if a drop of milk falls on a piece of meat, that it makes that piece of meat 100% forbidden. It transforms it to be 100% forbidden. That's why it's called nevela. It becomes like a nevela means an animal that was not slaughtered properly, right? Roadkill. It's a nevela. So the piece becomes what we call a nevela, that the whole entire piece becomes forbidden. Don't think that if a drop of milk falls on a piece of meat that's boiling hot, and there's not 60 in the meat against the milk, that the only thing that's forbidden here is that little bit of milk that's in the meat. Don't think so. It's not so. The entire piece of meat becomes forbidden. And if that entire piece of meat falls into a pot of stew, you now have to have 60 against that whole piece of meat, even though the taste of milk is negated. There's no taste of milk anymore. Excuse me. You have 1 ounce of milk that fell on a piece of meat that's 59 ounces. And that piece of meat that has 59 ounces falls into a pot that has 3,000 ounces. The whole pot is forbidden. There's no taste of milk. The taste of milk is gone a long time ago. As soon as there was 60, it was gone. And now you have 3,060 against this little drop of milk that you had. Well, nevertheless, the whole thing is forbidden. Why? Because the piece now becomes one piece of Isser. Very severe law. Says the Mechaber is the Beit Yosef, Rav Yosef Cairo of holy blessed memory. That's what he says. But the Ramah, Rabbi Moshe Islois, who is no less holy, says this applies, this law of Chaticha Naset Nevela, that the piece itself that becomes forbidden, it becomes totally one new unit of Isser. And we don't reckon just with the taste that's inside of it, the whole thing becomes Isser. This is not only in milk and meat, it's with all other Issurim. So in other words, substitute in our story that I just told you, instead of milk falling on a piece of meat and making the meat totally usser, instead of that, taking a drop of clam chowder that falls on a totally kosher potato. They're both hot. If there is not 60 in the potato against this clam chowder, I don't know if there is such a thing. Clam chowder is a soup that's made from clams, huh? It's forbidden. And it falls on this potato, and there's not 60 in the potato against this amount of clam chowder, then according to the Ramah, that whole potato becomes 100% forbidden, And if it falls into a pot, you have to have 60 against the potato. And according to the Machaber, if that potato falls into a pot, still all you have to have is 60 against the clam chowder, little drop. Huh? But if you pull that potato out and you find the potato, that potato is still forbidden, even according to the Machaber. It's forbidden. You can make a vessel kosher, but you can never make food kosher. If a food becomes forbidden, it never becomes permissible again. Okay, never becomes permissible again. Okay, ready? Tzaddik base. We're in Tzaddik base. Here we go. Did we learn this? Yes. Okay, then we finished that law. Now we're in the last law, and we're going to do this. We talked about it before. And here we have our picture. One second. Here we have our picture, our diagram. Here it is. A pot of meat that fell on the outside of the pot, a drop of milk. This drop of milk fell on a boiling pot of meat. Here is the water line, this is the soup line, and it fell on this pot above the soup line. What's the law? Let's do the law and let's see if we can understand this. Ready? This starts at, these are three laws, Hey, Vav, and Zion. Ready? Hey. Okay, are you with me? Are you going to put this up? Can somebody put this up? No? No, can't put it up. Can't put it up. All right. So I'll read it to you in English. Huh? Or does anybody out there have, one second, let me unmute everyone. Let me unmute. Unmute. Can I unmute?
Yeah, I haven't got it.
Unmute. I can't unmute anybody. Oh, you're the one, you have the control, huh? You're the muter and the unmuter? No? I can't do it. Trying. Okay, unmute. All right, anyway, okay, let's go. Ready? A drop of milk that falls on a pot that is on the fire on the outside of the pot. If it falls under the soup line, then all you have to have is 60 in the soup against this drop of milk. We're talking about inside of the pot is meat. And because if this drop of milk falls below the soup line, then all you have to have is 60 against the drop, because the drop will go directly through the wall into the soup, into the cholent, as though it fell in directly into the cholent from above. What if the drop of milk fell b'makom reikan? It fell above the cholent line, above the soup line. Then we'll say, we will suppose that it spreads out in the wall of the pot right next to the soup up to 60. And now there's one big patch, which is 60, up to 60, and it becomes forbidden. Vahari nevad oto makom akadera. And if so, Nesar, I'm sorry, I have very bad printing. That part of the pot above the soup line becomes forbidden. V'im yara tafshel, and if you pour the food, derech makom akadera, Nesar, then asar tavshel. What you're supposed to do, take it, leave it, and don't touch it, don't move it until it cools down. What's going on? Let's look at this. Here we go. Ready? Yeah. Here we have our pot. Oh, here it is. Here we have our pot. Yes? Here we have our pot. Here we have our meat. Here we have our milk. The milk falls, let's say, into the pot. If it falls in directly from here, then all you have to have is 60 in the whole cholent against everything. Good? 60 in the whole cholent. What if it falls on the outside of the pot here, where the meat is, same exact thing. All you have to have is 60 in the pot against it. What if it falls on the outside of the pot here, above the soup line, on the outside of the pot? We suppose that it spreads out. It spreads out in the top up to 60 because there's taste of meat in the walls. And what fell on it? A drop of milk. So we suppose the worst scenario, it spreads out over here up to 60, right up above the soup line. And now we have one big patch above the soup line that's forbidden. What do you have to do? Let it cool off. Let it cool off. Don't stir it. Don't shake the pot. The pot starts to shake. It could be that the meat from the inside, the cholent on the inside, will go up and touch this area. Oh, it'll touch this area here that's forbidden, and it'll make the whole thing forbidden. You'll have to have 60 times 60. You'll have to have 60 in this pot against this area that has become forbidden. So what do? Leave it to rest until it cools down. Don't touch it, and then pour the cholent out the pot from the other side. Okay, let's go. But says the Ramah, only if the pot has been a used pot before this time. You used it previously. But if it's a brand new pot, then all you have to have is 60. Why? Because we're learning now a new law, which is the walls of the pot become forbidden. I'm sure you all know this, right? That's what you have to have. You have to kosher your pot, do hagalah. Hagalah means to spit out. You have to do hagalah on a vessel that's forbidden. When you have to, in other words, an empty pot can become forbidden. It having taste in the wall. Well, the same thing is here. We have in this pot, we have in the walls of the pot here, it's meaty. When is it meaty? If you use this pot previous to this boiling of the meat, you cooked meat in it previously. Then the walls become meaty, fleshik. And then if milk falls on the outside, it will spread out up to 60 and make that area forbidden. But if it's a brand new pot, it doesn't do it. Let's just do Vav. Nagu Olam, the custom is to make the pot, the whole thing forbidden. The custom of the world is that they do not use this fixing of leaving the pot to cool off and then pouring it out. No, what do they say? The world says that if a drop of milk falls on the outside of the pot, above the soup line, that spreads out in the wall, makes up to 60 forbidden, and because the pot is bubbling, it's hot. So inevitably, some of that pot is going to raise up and touch. So now you're going to have, let's say, if the drop of milk is 1 ounce big, it'll fall on the outside of the pot and make forbidden an area which is 59.99 ounces. And then we suppose that the meat that's in the pot, because it's boiling, will touch that. And now you have to have in the pot 60 times 59.99, which is about 3,500 and something. Pretty exaggerated. You have to have 3,000 ounces of cholent in order to negate 1 ounce of milk. That's what everybody does. Let's just do Zion. Let's just jump to Zion because we're giving an overview here. Some people say yesh shamater b'shata dechak, like Erev Shabbos, afilu shelo keneged arotav, afilu sheno keneged eish, by 60. Some people say, let's drop all these severities, that if the drop of milk falls here, it's the same law as if it falls here. All you have to have is 60 in the pot. It doesn't make forbidden 60. Now you have to have 3,600. Forget about that. Some people say that no matter where the drop of milk falls, that all you have to have is 60 times against that drop of milk, and the whole thing is permissible, which that's a little more user-friendly. And the Ramah says this is the custom. And we have finished today's lesson in milk and meat. Have a good day, everyone.